Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show. We are streaming live here on Podbean.com. Hey, I know what you're saying. Mean Gene, where have you been? Man, we've been trying to find you. You're just not here every day. And you know what? We're going to work on that. We are going to get better. I'm getting the feedback. I know many of you are just wondering what the hell is going on. But hey, I can promise you, you will get a show from Mean Gene 5 days a week here on Podbean Live streaming. Okay, I can promise you that. Now, I cannot promise you exactly what time it's going to be, but I do need you to go ahead and follow the show, the Mean Gene Show here on Podbean Live, because I have a couple other things in the works as well. I'm doing a show with Dustin Pfeiffer on iHeartRadio. And many of you know, like during the football season, I'm doing a show out there in Las Vegas. It's on KDWN, 720 AM, 101.5 FM. So that's what's going on. But hey, we are going to do this. So anyway, I know many of you out there have other choices, but I do want you to listen to the Mean Gene Show because I'm going to try to get you up to date, bring you everything that's happening in the world of sports. So top stories for this Tuesday, March 15th. The NIT tournament starts tonight. Now, I start with the NIT because we're all waiting, of course, on March Madness, the big dance, okay? Have you felt your bracket out yet? I did 2 brackets, and I got 2 more to go. As a matter of fact, I'm going to fill one out today with Dustin Pfeiffer. Check that show out a little bit later. It'll be on iHeartRadio, which it will be powered by Podbean, of course. But me and Dustin Pfeiffer, he joins me during the football season all the time. He works with Bally Sports Southeast. He covers the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Hornets. So Dustin is going to join me later, and we are going to, and I'm assuming Dustin has already filled out his bracket because I have 2, but I'm going to do a 3rd one and I'm going to do a 4th one because there's nothing like being out of this thing before it even gets started, if you know what I mean. If you have filled out an NC2A bracket, you know what I mean. It sucks when the tournament is barely started and your teams are done. So at a minimum, I can do 4. Just like fantasy football, I usually have 4 fantasy football leagues going at the same time. So, and that's manageable for me. I can do that. I can really manage that many leagues during the NFL season, and it's fun too, and it educates you on what's going on. So we're going to talk about the NIT. The round of 32 gets underway tonight. We're also going to talk about the NC2A play-in games. It's called the first 4 in. We'll talk about those matchups, who's going to be playing tonight, and this is usually for the right to get beat down by someone in the first round when the tournament actually kicks off on Thursday and Friday. But it's still fun, right? College basketball, it's March. I cannot think, what else are you doing in the month of March? You cannot be doing anything else. And I know there's some NBA that's going on, and boy, we are going to recap some of the NBA scores and highlights from Monday night, last night, and believe me, there was some amazing games played last night, some scores that will blow your mind, some performances that will also blow your mind. And we'll talk about some of the NBA games that's going to be scheduled tonight. And we'll look at those NBA standings. And I know if you're a Laker fan, which I am, okay, I know, feel bad for me, feel sorry for me because, yes, I am. And you know what, the Lakers are horrible. But because ESPN, TNT, all of the networks figured, okay, all we want to watch is the Lakers on TV. Yeah, we want to watch the good Lakers, but we're not really interested in these Lakers. I mean, these Lakers are just not getting it done. So anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into all of that stuff right here on the Mean Gene Show. And let's go ahead and start with this NIT tournament. Let's start with that because that's going to be happening tonight. And a couple of games that I want to talk about this because some of these games, some of these teams that made the NIT, man, they were so close to making the NC2A tournament. One of those teams is Vanderbilt. Now, you know, Vanderbilt is coached by Jerry Stackhouse, formerly of the NBA. and his team in the SEC really could have made the tournament. There's so many great teams in the SEC, and I actually watch Vanderbilt play. Now, they have Scottie Pippen Jr. on that team. So if Vanderbilt plays tonight, they are going to play Belmont. Now, Belmont is a team that normally makes the NCAA tournament. Surprised to see that they didn't get in. But the NIT is going to be exciting this year. And I know it may not be your cup of tea, but it's basketball. At least you will be able to watch some basketball in the meantime, while you're waiting on the tournament, while you're waiting on the big dance, the March Madness tournament, you'll still be able to watch a little bit of college basketball. So Vanderbilt is going to play Belmont, and in another NIT game, you have Oklahoma. They will play Missouri State. Two schools really close to each other in proximity. Oklahoma is another school there that was very close in getting into the tournament. They didn't make it, but the NIT accepted them, so they will be in the round of 32 for the NIT. Also, VCU. VCU is going to play Princeton now. VCU, I watched VCU many years ago. They played did they make the Final Four? Did they make the Elite Eight? I think the Final Four, VCU, and that was when they had Shaka Smart. You guys remember Shaka Smart? Now, Shaka Smart is that school actually put him on the map, and he's had some pretty good damn jobs after that, since then anyway. So VCU, they will play Princeton in the round of 32 in the NIT, and these games are tonight, okay? They are tonight. It's March 15th, 2022. Okay, so it's a live show. I was not kidding you. It is a live show. And we have North Texas. North Texas is going to play Texas State. So it seems like the NIT committee sort of made things very easy and sort of put together some rivalries because, with the exception of the Vanderbilt and the Belmont, not a rivalry there, but Oklahoma, Missouri State, real close. VCU, Princeton, not too far, but North Texas and Texas State. North Texas is right there in the Dallas area. Texas State is right there in San Marcos, which is not far from Austin, Texas. So you got a little in-state matchup there in the NIT round of 32. So that game is also going to be played tonight. Cleveland State is going to be playing Xavier. Now, Xavier, very surprising that Xavier did not make the NCAA tournament. They were ranked at one time or another, and I believe the committee may have looked at the fact that they just kind of fell off the planet, so to speak. They just, but they really played some good games. I watched Xavier play a lot of basketball games, and they very surprising that they didn't make the NCAA tournament, but they're going to play tonight, and they're probably going to beat the brakes off Cleveland State tonight in the NIT tournament. So good betting games too. And speaking of betting, I will have occasionally on this show, and he'll probably have his own show pretty soon, Jeff Lambert Sr., Mr. Picks, a.k.a. Mr. Picks, sports betting expert. He knows his stuff, guys. And I tell you what, these type of games like tonight, this Xavier, Cleveland State, I don't know. I think, it shows right here. They are favored to win by 12. They would probably win by way more than that. So if you like to bet on these games, I'm not the expert on this, but Mr. Picks is, and you will definitely hear from him on this show. On many occasions, he will be on this show, so you might want to listen in. But anyway, Xavier should win tonight convincingly over Cleveland State. Now, here's a good game to watch in the NIT. It's the number one seed there in the NIT in the round of 32, Texas A&M. Texas A&M made the SEC championship game in the SEC tournament. Many people felt that Texas A&M should have made it to the big dance. Now, all they had to do was win the SEC tournament, which they didn't, okay? But they beat Arkansas. They beat some pretty good teams to get all the way to the SEC championship game, and they just came up short. There was so many good teams in the SEC. You had Arkansas, you had Tennessee, you had Auburn. You just got so many good teams. Kentucky, you got so many good teams in there. A&M didn't make it, but boy, watch watch out for A&M. And I'm not surprised that they got this number one seed here in this NIT. Watch out for A&M. They are going, and Alcorn State. That's who they're going to be playing. A&M is favored by 20, and that's how serious people are taking them in this NIT. And you should too. And I'm going to take them serious. But man, I can see this A&M and Xavier somewhere connecting, which would be fabulous for the NIT. The NIT is really going to have some good teams. You know, you just can't get everyone in the big dance, but I am just really impressed with some of the teams that accepted the invitation to the NIT. And let's look at another matchup in the NIT tonight. Is going to be Utah State. They will play Oregon. Now, Oregon, wow, it's just really weird to see Oregon from the Pac-12 not in the NCAA tournament. But they will play tonight. They will play Utah State. Utah State, the number 4 seed in the round of 32 for the NIT. And another matchup there is going to be, now this is, okay, so this is actually, I want to make sure I'm not ready to talk about the first 4 in tonight, but the NIT tournament round of 32, Colorado, number 4 seed, they will play St. Bonaventure. That's a late game tonight. And the last game tonight, and these are all, I think, West Coast games, Washington State will play Santa Clara. So that is all of your NIT games that are scheduled tonight. And we'll look at tomorrow's, but this is what's going to be happening tonight in the NIT. Great college basketball tonight. Just sit in front of the TV and watch, because there's going to be plenty of action. So now let's look at the March Madness play-in games. Now this is exciting because I believe there are, let's see here, we have Indiana will play Wyoming. Now these are 2 12-seed teams. Okay, they are 2 12-seeded teams. And we're talking NC2A tournament now. NC2A tournament play-in games tonight. Okay, you have 12 seed Indiana will take on the 12 seed Wyoming. Indiana is a favorite, and that game will be played tonight. Okay, so that is your what they call like first 4. All right, and let's see if we have another game. We also have another play-in game tonight, and that's going to be 2 16 seeds. And I joke about these 16 seeds because they basically are playing for the right to get beat by, the number 1 seeds. And of course, now, hey, we have seen a number 1 seed go down. It's only happened once in the NC2A tournament. I don't see it happening this year because I'm going to get into the bracket. I'm going to get into one of my brackets. I'm not going to go all in on this bracket, but I'm going to see here, as a matter of fact, so it's Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They're going to play Texas Southern. So you got 2 Texas schools going at it again. Now, I'm in Houston right now, so Texas Southern is probably about a 40-minute ride from my doorstep. So I'm probably going to have to really pull for the Texas Southern team tonight. And they are excited. They are pumped up, as they should be, because they made the big dance. They didn't make the NIT. They made the big dance. Now they're going to be a 16 seed. And like I said, they're probably going to get the brakes beat off of them by the number 1 seed who they play. As a matter of fact, let's go look at that bracket to see who that number 1 seed is going to be, because let's see here. We got it. Who are they going to play if they, and this is Texas A&M Corpus Christi and Texas Southern. All right. Okay. Now seeing it there. Where is it? Are they in the East? Nope. Okay. They're in the Midwest. All right. So the winner of the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Texas Southern game will play number 1 seeded Kansas Jayhawks. Now that is not anything to look forward to However, you made the big dance, and just be thankful and grateful you made the big dance. But you will be playing the Kansas Jayhawks, the winner of tonight's play-in, the NC tournament first four. That's going to be Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Texas Southern, and Texas Southern is favored to win by 3.5. And I do think they are a pretty good team. As a matter of fact, they upset some teams this year, some ranked teams this year. So Texas Southern is not a bad team. Of course, now I don't think they will match up against Kansas, but it's, every once in a while you see a good matchup where a team will, like Kansas will probably be favored by 20, but a team like Texas Southern will play them close, and Kansas will pull away. So I've seen these 1,000 times, and that's usually what happens here. So interesting stuff. But anyway, so that's your NC2A play-in games. So you got like 2 play-in games tonight. You got Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and Texas Southern. They are your 16 seeds. They are playing for the right to play the number 1 seed, Kansas. And then you also have your who else? Okay, you got Indiana, 12 seeds. Indiana will play 12 seed Wyoming, and that is your game, your playing game tonight. So a lot of action there, a lot of college basketball action tonight, and I would definitely be glued to the television and watching these games. Multiple games. I like to watch. It's hard for me to watch one game. I have to watch a ton of games. So, all right, now let's get into this bracket just a little bit because, like I said, I'm going to be doing a separate show with Dustin Pfeiffer, the iHeartRadio show, the MeanGene Show on iHeartRadio. Dustin Pfeiffer is going to join me. Dustin is going to. I'm assuming Dustin has already made his picks. I guarantee you he has made his picks. And I also know that Dustin probably has 3 or 4 brackets. Any smart person is, unless you're just so freaking confident in knowing that your one bracket is going to get you a championship, and no one has ever had a perfect bracket in the history of these NC2A tournament brackets. No one. Now, someone may have gotten close, but not the perfect bracket. And the odds of getting those are somewhere like, 1 in a billion or something like that. Almost like trying to win the lottery, which people do win, right? But no one has gotten that bracket, though. No one has gotten that perfect bracket. So we are going to see exactly how close people will get. Now, there are a ton of sweepstakes contests. Now, I happen to do the CBS Sports one every year, which is, the popular one because CBS is the home of the NC2A tournament, right? And we all know that. So, except for this year, I think TNT is actually going to have the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken. So, but they all partner up with. And speaking of TNT, so this is the time of the year where Charles Barkley, Kenneth Smith, and all those guys go over, and Ernie Johnson, they go over to CBS, and they will talk college basketball. Now, Shaq never goes over to the college side, which is interesting. So he stays with the NBA and the TNT side, but it's going to be exciting. But anyway, so I have one of my brackets here. Okay, and I might go in a little detail about what I have here. So this is Mean Gene's Picks, CBS Sports Men's Bracket Challenge. Okay, and you have. And I think they have a countdown here. So you got 2 days, 4 hours, 13 minutes before the tournament starts. The round 1 Thursday, and the first rounds. Okay, so that's what that the timer is there. That gives you a countdown. But like I said, I think ESPN has one, and there's a ton of them out there. But I just like the CBS ones. And then they, as the tournament plays, they grade your paper, so to speak, and then you get to see how good or bad you have done here on these brackets. But I'm hoping to have a pretty good damn bracket. Now, when me and Dustin do the show later today, I'm probably going to fill out another bracket. But now, and because I got one of these will have to be the main bracket, and I'm not sure yet if the one I'm looking at right now is the one that I am going to use because, and let's see, I do like this one though. I like this bracket here that I have in front of me. So I'm going to just tell you who I have here in my Final Four. I have Arkansas, Purdue, Tennessee, and Auburn. I don't think that's bad because Arkansas is a 4 seed, Purdue is a 3 seed, Tennessee is a 3 seed, Auburn is a 2 seed. So I don't have any number 1 seeds, and that's in this particular bracket that I have. Okay, I don't have any number 1 seeds, and that happens. So I'm already assuming that the Arizona Wildcats somewhere down the road are going to get knocked off. I'm already assuming that the Gonzaga Bulldogs are going to get knocked off somewhere down the road. I'm also considering that the Baylor Bears are going to get knocked off somewhere down the road. And I'm also considering the Kansas Jayhawks are going to get knocked off somewhere down the road. And it's probably unlikely. That's why I'm thinking and remembering I have 2 more brackets to fill out. So I'm going to really have to. And these are the first 2 brackets I did are knee-jerk reaction type brackets. Okay, they are, I'm just sitting down eating dinner, and I'm like, just filling in the boxes and boom, boom, boom. Now they have an autofill, which is fun sometimes to do. If you ever did an autofill bracket, it's just one of those things you just click the autofill and it automatically chooses all of your picks, which is the scariest damn thing I've ever heard of, right? And it's you would be surprised who they will have as and I should do it right now, but no, this one I already have locked, so I can't really mess with this one. But if you do autofill, you could have someone like Wright State winning the national championship, someone like Vermont, someone like Longwood, someone like, and I'm picking these long shots, seeded teams here. But this is what autofill. Now, this is what some people actually do because you just never know. And I don't think we've had some crazy years, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. Now, that Loyola Chicago school, I actually saw that team play when I was in San Antonio for I think it was the Final Four. It was the Final Four a few years ago. Was it the Final Four or the Sweet 16 or something other? But I know that school made it. That's the school with the Sister Jean. Okay, and it was crazy because I did a lot of drinking with those people, and not Sister Jean, of course, but at the San Antonio at the Riverwalk. But they are a 10th seed. They're going to be playing Ohio State, so watch out, Ohio State. As a matter of fact, I got Ohio State in this particular bracket, beating them. But that's going to be a fun school. But anyway, back to this autofill thing here. Play with that if you. And I don't know, maybe some of the other platforms like the ESPN one have it, but I know the March Madness 2022 NCAA men's bracket games on CBS Sports. It's a fun thing to do, and I have done it to play with it, but I've never submitted an autofill. I just haven't, and it's just I don't know. It's fun though. It is fun to see who they would have as your. I mean, they could have Texas Southern as your championship. Now it would just be crazy. The odds of any of those 14, 13, 15 seeded teams winning the national championship would be remarkable. But someone's going to do it. As a matter of fact, a lot of someones are going to do it. And I'm just not that someone that's going to do it. But let's go back to this one bracket here. And I'm only talking about this one because I do like it. I have a lot of SEC teams in this particular bracket. I have Auburn and Arkansas in the national championship game. Go figure, right? A 4 and a 2. And that's not that far fetched, okay? Because, a 2 seed team, sometimes you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm probably gonna play with a bracket that has 1, 2, 3, 4, because that has happened. And it has. Have we had all number 1 seeded teams make the final four? I think so. I had to do my research on that one, but and looking at this year's, you know, Baylor, Kansas, Gonzaga, Arizona, I just don't see that. I just don't see all 4 of those number 1 seeded teams making the NCAA tournament. And right now in this bracket, I don't have any of them. But if I had to go back, I don't need to go back because I'm going to do 2 more brackets and put one of these or 2 of these number 1 seeded teams in the final 4. Baylor, Baylor won the national championship last year, and I don't, and Auburn, well, Auburn's number 2 seeded, but we said number 1. Gonzaga, you remember they beat Gonzaga, and here's the problem with Gonzaga. I just cannot take. I don't know why Gonzaga continues to be a number 1 seed. Now I know they play great basketball out there in that what is it, the West Coast Conference. I don't know. They are the number 1 seed overall in this tournament. I think they were last year as well. But when you get beat by 20-something points, I believe they did in that national championship game against Baylor, because by the time they get to the national championship game, or as soon as they get past the first round, second round, the competition gets so much tougher, and they don't play that type of competition throughout the year. And it was and last year they were undefeated. They imagine being undefeated in the NCAA tournament all the way to the national championship game. And that's what happened with Gonzaga. And then they get to the national championship game. They play Baylor, and Baylor beat the brakes off of them, folks. And that's what happened. And that's why, if any of these number 1 seeded teams I'm not going to mess with, is going to be Gonzaga. I think this year, and looking at the region that they are in, because they got some pretty good teams, and where they got an Arkansas team that they're probably going to face mighty early. That's going to be a hell of a test. They don't have a lot of competition. They're going to beat, I think it's Georgia State. They play in the first round. Then they're going to play the winner of Boise State and Memphis, which they'll probably beat either one of those teams. Then, so you're looking at Arkansas, Connecticut, or Arkansas, UConn. Same thing, UConn, Connecticut. So that would be some competition. So, if Arkansas slips up, of course, yeah, Gonzaga almost has a shoe in there but the bottom half of the, and who's the second seed over there? Because we're talking about the West. Now, mind you, I think they're going to be playing over there in, I think they opened up there in Portland, Oregon. But, they're going to get the home cooking, so to speak, and should coast to the Elite Eight at least, if not the Final Four. But I'm trying. Oh, okay, Duke. Now this is what okay. So everyone knows this is Coach K's last hurrah, and that Duke team is going to play well for him. They got the number 2 seed, and they don't have the number 2 seed just because it's Coach K's last year. Duke has a pretty good damn team, and Duke, and I'm surprised, and I haven't yet put Duke anywhere in the Final Four. But Gonzaga's going to have to run up against Arkansas, Texas Tech, and Duke. They could face any of those teams at any, and that's what they would have to beat those teams to get to the Final Four or the championship game. And not to mention, I believe Michigan State. Anytime a Tom Izzo team is in the way, that's going to be interesting. I got Duke and Michigan State playing each other, so I think Duke could take them out. Now, the matchup And this tournament, this is where the tournament committee, man, I tell you what, they say what you will about them, they get better. Some of these matchups are going to be incredible, but we will see, because Gonzaga, they making things so easy for Gonzaga because Duke and Texas Tech will be on a collision course. Now, if Duke wins, I still think there's a chance we might see Duke Gonzaga if Arkansas doesn't in this particular bracket. I got Arkansas knocking off Gonzaga, but we could see a Duke Gonzaga matchup. Coming out of that the West that West bracket there, which would be interesting. So it's just, I tell you what, the tournament is just going to be so exciting and so interesting, and of course, I don't want you to miss my show with Dustin Pfeiffer as we break down and talk about our selections. I can't wait to see what he's going to have, and now that's where it's going to get a little bit more serious then, because I think by the time I will fill out my third bracket, I probably have that bracket filled out before we do the show, but it's going to be interesting because that's probably going to be the bracket that I ultimately go with, even though I'm going to have four, but for the purpose of that show, that's going to be the one that we're going to talk about. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and let's get to the NBA. All right, let's talk about what took place in the NBA last night. The things are just looking kind of interesting in the NBA, especially when it comes to the East and teams moving up, and they got this ridiculous play-in tournament that I just don't like. It was something that they introduced during the bubble days in Orlando, and it's just crazy. And if you listen to any of my shows, you have seen or heard anyway that I'm not a fan or in favor of a play-in tournament. I do strongly believe, but if you're the top 8 teams in your conference, that's the playoffs. 8 plays number 1, 7 plays number 2, 6 plays 3, 4, and 5, so on. It's been that way forever. But the ideal of a 10th seeded team has an opportunity to get that 8th spot. It's just ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous, because if you had played well enough to be an 8 seed, you would be an 8 seed. If you play like a 10 seed, then you're a 10 seed. You don't make the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't know. And that's probably, the NBA sort of trying to, steal a little bit of March Madness effect, tournament type, flavor, which, okay, I get it. So, but anyway, let's look at some of the scores from last night. Interesting. I'm gonna laugh at some of these scores because we're talking about the Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers defeated the Clippers 120 to 111, and this was in overtime. So make a note of that. This was in overtime, 120 to 111, final in overtime. Zubac, Zubac is the center for the Clippers, 24 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists. But the man of the hour for the Cleveland Cavaliers was Darius Garland, coming back from that injury. And you remember Darius Garland from the All-Star game. Remember, he was part of the festivities there with Jared Allen. Darius Garland, 24 points, 13 assists, 2 rebounds in that overtime victory over the Clippers, 120, 111. Even though the Clippers lost, they are still better than the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm just saying, okay, because I'm going to go over the standings here in a little bit. And the Atlanta Hawks defeated the Portland Trailblazers 122-113. Trae Young, oh my goodness. Trae Young is some must-see TV. 46 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds. Okay, he did his thing. He did his thing. Josh Hart, who recently acquired in that New Orleans Pelicans trade there that sent C.J. McCollum to New Orleans. Josh Hart, former Laker, okay, he dropped 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. but they lose. The Portland Trailblazers lose to the Atlanta Hawks. And I watched a little bit of that game. I did watch a little bit of that game. It was 122-113. Blazers lose. And then another game last night was, and this game really shocked me last night. Okay, this game really just, okay, the 76ers, I believe they were a 2.5-point favorite. They were playing at home. They lose to the Denver Nuggets 114-110. Joel Embiid, 34 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. The Joker, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. And I'm not really certain on what direction Doc Rivers and the 76ers are going in. And I know with James Harden and the big trade there, they finally got rid of Ben Simmons. And I don't know. It was a game that the Philadelphia 76ers should have won. And I don't know what happened. James Harden played 39 minutes. He put up 4 points. Embiid, 34 points. Maxey, 19 points. So, I mean, they showed up, but they just could not stop Denver. And Denver's getting it done here. Remember, Denver still have a lot of players that are hurt. So, Will Barton, of course, now the shooting guard there for the Nuggets, put up 20 points. And like I said, the Joker had 22. But you do not lose that game if you're the 76ers. It just didn't make any sense. You do not lose a game at home to the Denver Nuggets. You just don't. Knowing what you need to accomplish in the Eastern Conference, and I will be talking about that, those standings here shortly. But they lose that game anyway, 114-110. And another game here, and this game was really crazy too. The Charlotte Hornets, they defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder 134-116. And Rozier for the Charlotte Hornets put up 30 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And my man Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. That Oklahoma City team is just, they play good basketball, but for the most part, they're just not going to beat anybody. They are a lot different from the James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell, Westbrook team from back in the day. But nevertheless, they just get beat. They get beat by, and this was a Charlotte team on the road. So they did that right there in OKC. Now here's the game of the night. Now, I just told you about the Clippers. The Clippers lose to the Cavaliers 120-111, and that was an overtime. Now, here's a game that did not go into overtime. The Minnesota Timberwolves defeated the San Antonio Spurs 149-139. That's in regulation. That was not overtime. So I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, MeanGene, they didn't play any defense. And that's probably true. And I watched some of that game as well. But Karl-Anthony Towns, the guy that won the 3-point contest in the All-Star weekend, Karl-Anthony Towns, 60 points, 17 rebounds, 3 assists. In that third quarter, he had 32 points. How do you have 32 points? How does one player have 32 points in a quarter? So some NBA teams don't even score 32 points in a quarter. But one player had 32 points. Karl-Anthony Towns. And you know what? And I want to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns for a little bit because, man, bless his heart, he lost his mom to COVID-19. Karl-Anthony Towns, back in the day with the Minnesota Timberwolves, remember when they had Jimmy Butler, and Butler sort of said, hey, this is a team that is sort of lazy. There's no, they had Wiggins who is now with the Golden State Warriors. But I don't know. And maybe Karl-Anthony Towns was just a younger player back then who was just finding himself. But remember, he played with Kentucky. In Kentucky, is known for putting out good centers, but think about the centers that have came out of Kentucky, and which one do you think is the best? You know, they had Anthony Davis, they had Carly Stein, they had Karl-Anthony Towns. Anthony Davis. Now, everyone would think that Anthony Davis is, where he was top billing. I watched Anthony Davis at the Final Four there in New Orleans when with Kentucky, and I think it was Kentucky and Kansas. But look at Karl-Anthony Towns. Who's getting the last laugh now? Now, Carly Stein, he just didn't pan out to me. You already know Anthony Davis' story, right? This guy, if you look at him, he's injured. So I don't know. Karl-Anthony Towns is just, and he might be playing. Playing on, with. Well, I know he's playing with crazy emotions right now, but winning the 3-point contest. And if you could go back and see the highlights of some of that game last night, you could say that there was no defense played in that game last night, but you just couldn't stop Karl-Anthony Towns. He was shooting the ball from the outside. He was in the paint. He was just all over the freaking place. And they defeated the Spurs and Pop. Hey, Pop, and Greg Popovich is so cool. I met him many, many years ago. I actually interviewed him, and oh my goodness. And I've told this story a bunch of times, but if it's your first time hearing it, Greg Popovich, do not ask dumb questions. I mean, he's gotten a lot better now. He's more humble now. But I've seen Greg Popovich just light off into a reporter that asked a pretty dumb question. And I just happened to be the next guy in line for a question. And I didn't have anything to say after watching Greg Popovich chew this guy's head off, and with some choice words. But anyway, so Greg Popovich now has the most the all-time winning records in the NBA. So he is the most winningest coach in the NBA. So but last night, and look here, we put so much emphasis on the Timberwolves winning 149, put up 149 points. Well, the Spurs just didn't lay down. 139. This was one hell of a game. But anyway, so DeJounte Murray had 30 points, 12 assists, and 4 rebounds for the Spurs in that losing effort. But man, go back and try to see some of the highlights. And Karl-Anthony Towns, this guy, still a young guy, is going to be. And I don't know what kind of money Minnesota has, because when his next contract comes up, they are going to have to find a way to pay him. Karl-Anthony Towns. And I'm sure a lot of teams now, and especially the Lakers, if you had a choice of, man, do we want to take Karl-Anthony Towns or Anthony Davis, people would go back and probably get Karl-Anthony Towns now, KAT or KAT, whatever they call him there. All right. And then another game last night, and I don't know what's going on with the Chicago Bulls. They lose to the Kings, and something told me that the Bulls were going to lose that game last night. The Sacramento Kings defeated the Bulls 112-103. Zach LaVine, 27 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds in that losing effort. And it was De'Aaron Fox, 34 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds for the Sacramento Kings. And you know what? I tell you what, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, that's working out. That's probably going to, at the end of the year, and I don't know if Sacramento's going to really make the playoffs, but at some point in time, people are going to go back and say, like, wow, that was a hell of a trade. Sacramento really got the better end of that trade. So Sabonis dropped in 22 points, Fox 34 points. So keep your eye on Sacramento, and I'll let you know where they are in the standings here in a little bit. But I like that combination, and I've watched them play already, Fox and Sabonis. And Sabonis, who's listed, Sabonis is 6'11", but when you look at him, he handles the ball like a point guard. His father was a big guy, a real big, dominant guy. But little Sabonis, he's 6'11", man. If you see him in person, you'll see he is but to see what he does, and he doesn't get as much notoriety as like a Kevin Durant, who does wonderful things with the ball with his height. But Sabonis, man, I tell you that Sacramento had something going there. And let's see, we had we still got a couple more scores there. We had the Washington Wizards. They lose to the Golden State Warriors, 126-112. Porzingis, 25 points, 8 rebounds. And what can I say? Steph Curry. It was Steph Curry last night, 47 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. So Golden State still trying to make sure they stay relevant, stay in that number 2 seed there in the Western Conference, knowing that Chris Paul is out and they just got to stay there. I don't know if they're going to overtake Phoenix and in the standings there in the West, but a big win for Golden State last night at home, and a big win on the road last night for this team. The Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Utah Jazz 117-111. And I'm shocked at how the Bucks are really getting it done. I don't think the Bucks have the best point guards, but they somehow are getting it done. Holiday, his defense is good, but the Bucks just don't really have the greatest point guards. And when you look at the Utah Jazz, you have the Clarkson, you have my man Donovan Mitchell, and you have Mike Conley, and you wonder, okay, they should be able to just shoot their way to a lot of victories. And then, not to mention, they have 2 big men and Rudy Gobert and Whiteside. But when you look at the length, and of course the Bucks got Giannis, right? And then they have my man that played with the, oh man, he helped them out so much. Okay, I get his name right here. See, that's the thing with a live show. You either have to, these things have to be at the tip of your tongue. But Clint Portis is who I was trying to know. He didn't have a big game last night, but Holiday actually stepped it up for the Bucks. And they need that, when something, because Giannis can't do it all. He had 30 points last night. Holiday had 29, and Middleton. When you get the big 3, and this is what we saw in the finals last year, when you look at because everyone thought that the Phoenix Suns was going to win the NBA championship. I did not. And the Milwaukee Bucks are built for a series. They're just going to get better. But last night, the big 3 for the Milwaukee Bucks, when you get Giannis putting up 30 and you get Holiday putting up 29 and Middleton putting up 23, that's going to get them wins. And Phoenix could have told the Utah Jazz that last night, because you wonder how Utah is losing those games like that at home, but they did. And as far as Utah last night, they, Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, they had 29 each, but they didn't have that. That was it. Nobody else really contributed. So you had your guards doing their part, but man, and then like I said with Milwaukee, they just got some big bodies out there. Lopez is back now. That's going to be a problem. They got Serge Ibaka now. They got Clint Portis. All these guys are big. Hell, Giannis himself is big. So Milwaukee Bucks, man, I tell you, big win on the road in Utah in a hostile environment. And then, oh boy, the last game of the night there was the Toronto Raptors defeating the Lakers 114-103. That gets to be old after a while to say that the Lakers lost again. I mean, how many times? 114-103. I don't even know what the spread was. I think it was like 6 points. I don't know. I think the Lakers were, they should have been the underdog, because who in their right mind is going to have the Lakers favorite over anybody? Pascal Siakam, 27 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Man, that's almost like the old Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors championship year. LeBron James, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't know how Laker fans can sit in the new crypto.com arena night in, night out and watch these ass whippings. How do you prepare yourself to drive through? And I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years. As a matter of fact, I used to live right across or a couple of blocks away from the Staples Center. Used to walk to tons of Laker games. I've covered the Lakers when I was out there, and the Clippers, mainly the Clippers, but I have covered the Lakers. And of course, that was during the championship run, not these Lakers. I haven't had nothing to do with these Lakers, but curse them out while I'm watching these games. But how can fans and I was in LA at the beginning of the season. I went back. I was there for the Phoenix Suns and Lakers game 4 of that playoffs, and we all know what happened. Phoenix ended up beating the Lakers and getting all the way to the NBA Finals. And then I started the year off in Los Angeles watching the Phoenix Suns, and they beat the brakes off the Lakers again. I think it was the third or second game of the year for the Lakers. And it hasn't looked any different since. But Laker fans have to, they get prepared for this. They go to the arena. They have to drive through hours of traffic to sit there and watch this poor performance night in, night out. I cannot explain why Frank Vogel hasn't been fired. I cannot explain why Rob Pelinka, the general manager, hasn't been fired. I cannot explain why Jenny Buss, the owner, hasn't sold the damn team. So what? I do not know what's going on with the Lakers. And then the NBA trade deadline came and went, and nothing. They just, oh yeah, everything's fine. I think they tried to shake Russell Westbrook. And to say that Westbrook is the problem, come on, really? Everyone knows what Westbrook. You're talking about Westbrook is the problem now. We're talking about Westbrook, who the triple-double champion, passed Oscar Robertson. So how was Westbrook good all these years, and all of a sudden he comes to the Lakers, and he's to blame for the Lakers not playing great basketball? I knew that when I talked about this score that I was going to go off on a tangent with the Lakers, and I apologize, but man, because I like the Lakers, okay? I remember the good years. As a matter of fact, we won't see the Lakers win again until what is it, HBO, Showtime has that Laker series with Magic and Jerry Buss. That's the only time we're going to see them win again. All right, so I can't wait for that series, because this Lakers team, and they keep saying we're going to get it together. Do you really want to be a play-in? Do you really want to, sit around and cross your fingers and spend money on tickets, watching a 10th seeded Lakers team get into the play-in tournament? Come on, really? Nah, I don't want to see that. But anyway, so those are the games from last night, the scores from last night, and while we at it, let's look at the standings here. We got about 8 more minutes left to go here on the MeanGene Show. So let's go ahead and start with the East. We're going to look at the Eastern Conference standings right now. I am really shocked that the Miami Heat is still holding on. And I know it's only been a couple of games since the All-Star break, but I said that if the Heat would probably lose their first place standings, they still have 2 games lead, a 2-game lead over the Bucks now. But the Bucks are coming, and I said the Bucks was coming, and I said the 76ers was coming, because the Bulls are the ones that dropped, and I did say that the Bulls were going to drop. And so the Miami Heat is your number 1 seed. The Bucks are your number 2 seed there. They're 2 games behind. The 76ers are 1 game behind the Bucks, which that's going to be an interesting series. Your number 4 seed is the Chicago Bulls. They're 3.5 games out of first place. And this red hot team here, oh my goodness, the Boston Celtics, they are your number 5 seed. They have won 7 of the last 10. Cleveland Cavaliers, now, Cleveland was holding on to that 4th spot there for the longest, and I kind of saw that was not going to last. I still think they might be good enough. They have actually lost 6 of the last 10, so they're kind of going the opposite direction. Same thing with the Bulls. The Bulls have lost 6 of the last 10, and that's why they are not holding on. But Miami is still holding on, man. They're getting it done. The number 7 seeded team in the Eastern Conference is the Toronto Raptors. Big win over the Lakers last night. They have won 6 of the last 10. As a matter of fact, they have the best winning streak in the Eastern Conference. They have won 4 in a row. 4 in a row, got them the 7th spot there. Big win over the Lakers last night. Gave them their 4th win in a row. And the number 8 seeded team, this team cannot make any grounds. And I said that they would I might have to go back on my statement. The Brooklyn Nets, they are 35-33, 9.5 games out of first place. Probably don't need to go to first place, but they have lost 6 of the last 10 games. But they're on a 3-game winning streak now. But man, they got a lot of stuff to do. And this Kyrie Irving situation here, unvaccinated, vaccinated, unvaccinated, not allowed to play in his own gym, and then the controversy with him showing up on the bench and showing up in the locker room. The Nets getting fined $50,000 for him, showing up in the locker room, and and look, you have heard people say the rule that he's not allowed to play because he's considered somewhat of a New York City employee. Unvaccinated is really stupid because unvaccinated players from other teams can play in the Barclays Center, and it's just a dumb rule. And of course now Kevin Durant calling out the mayor didn't really think that was a smart thing to do because this particular mayor, the current mayor, didn't have anything to do with the rule. But you would think that someone needs to address it because it's just stupid. And to be honest with you, it's hurting the Nets. The Nets are not able to get in the ground now. When Kyrie is, when the team is playing on the road, he's there. So it's just interesting. So if the Nets are going to be in the playoffs, they're going to be there. So they're in that 8 spot. So I'll say the 9th and the 10th spots because of this stupid play-in tournament. So right now the Atlanta Hawks are in the 9th spot. They have also won 3 in a row. They're 10.5 games out of first place. And the Charlotte Hornets, they are in the 10th spot. And that makes sense, okay, because they so, it's going to be interesting because the Hornets and the Hawks, man, the Hawks last year went deep into the playoffs. So I guess, the play-in tournament on the East kind of makes sense. Because it will be competitive. But I think those Nets, boy, if they don't want to find themselves on the outside looking in, they need to probably get some ground and get themselves out of that 8 spot. And I think they probably will. I can see Cleveland and the Raptors dropping. I can see the Nets getting up to at least that 6th spot, so they don't have to be part of this play-in tournament. Because man, I don't think they want to be. All right, so now let's go over to the Western Conference and see what's going on. Phoenix Suns still holding it down. Man, Chris Paul out. People said that, and I said people said, but I wasn't the only one that said it, that the Phoenix Suns would probably lose some ground to Golden State. That hasn't happened. They've won 6 of the last 10. They have a 7.5 game lead over, and it's not even Golden State now. How about the Memphis Grizzlies are the number 2 seed? When was the last time the Memphis Grizzlies were a number 2 seed? I mean, I can't. I mean, who was president then? I mean, because I'm trying to think. Memphis Grizzlies as a number 2 seed. This is unheard of. They are your number 2 seed, and they're 7.5 games out. They're actually tied with Golden State, so this is going to be fun. Memphis has won 3 in a row, and Golden State is your number 3 seed. They have won 4 in a row. So, man, watch that back and forth there between Memphis and Golden State. That's going to be exciting. Utah Jazz, they are your 4th seeded team, and they are they're 12 games out of first place. So, and losing last night at home to the Milwaukee Bucks is not going to get them any cool points. The number 5 seeded team right now in the Western Conference is the Dallas Mavericks, which is a pretty good team. So the Mavericks have won 8 of the last 10 games. So the Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves are the hottest teams in the West right now. Mavericks won 2 in a row, won 8 of the last 10. The Denver Nuggets, they are your number 6 seeded team there. They have won 7 of the last 10. And your 7th seeded team right now is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have won 8 of the last 10 on the 2-game win streak. The 8th spot right now belongs to the Clippers. The Clippers are 36-35. They have won 6 of the last 10, although they lost last night. But they are right there, and they would be in this play-in tournament along with the Lakers. The Lakers have the 9th spot, even though they're 29-39. They've lost 2 in a row. As a matter of fact, folks, and this is pathetic, the Lakers have lost 8 of the last 10 games. They have lost 8 of the last 10 games. And that's why I went off on them the way I did. The Pelicans have that 10th spot at 28-40, and Pelicans have won 5 of the last 10 games. So Pelicans with CJ McCollum now. So this is be interesting because you're 10 and 9 and 8 are part of that play-in tournament, which is going to be interesting. So we will cover a lot of NBA here, and I'll be back tomorrow to talk a little bit more about the standings and the NBA. And I think I know for a fact we have some games tonight on the hardwood, and the Memphis Grizzlies will be on the road. They will play the Indiana Pacers tonight. They are a 7-point favorite over the Pacers, so that should be a good one. The Brooklyn Nets, they are on the road, so Kyrie Irving should play tonight. How about that? They will play the Orlando Magic. They are a 9.5-point favorite over the Magic tonight. The Detroit Pistons will play the Heat. 13-point favorite. So the Heat, this is one reason why the Heat is going to still maintaining that first place spot in the East, because they play teams like the Pistons. Everybody know the Pistons are horrible. Phoenix Suns and the Pelicans tonight. Phoenix Suns on the road. And they are a 6-point favorite. I'm surprised it's only a 6-point favorite, but the Pelicans are playing pretty good basketball. So those are the games tonight in the NBA. And we are at the end of this show. All right. So I come back with more. Baseball is back, and probably talk about baseball tomorrow. Tom Brady is back also. Probably talk about more football stuff tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow. Make sure you check here on Podbean for the scheduled time here. And next week, I will be promoting the MeanGene Show in New York. I will be there with Mr. Picks. He's our sports betting expert, so make sure you tune in for those live shows from the Big Apple. So that's going to do it for the MeanGene Show here on Podbean Live. Tune in tomorrow for more March Madness, NBA, NFL, and any other breaking sports news happening, and we'll talk about it right here on the MeanGene Show.